Oh, this is really great friends. They are all lifelong friends, you know. And I tell you, this group is pretty important group. Okay. Um, Dr. Bhava Jain is a General Secretary of the UN Religious Council.
Mm.
So he handles all kinds of religion issues for the UN. Lives in Florida, very close friend of mine.
Namaste, Sam sir. This is Basoraj from Spain.
Yes. Basara, how are you? Good.
Morning, Sam.
Morning, Patrick. Oh, my goodness. Hi, Patrick. How are you?
Doing well.
Patrick is also a very close friend, professor at Harvard, now at Brown University, and was with me in Chicago as the head of ID, Institute of Design. Surya ji, how are you?
Fine.
Good.
Sir, we have a Karl Malamud as well.
Oh, Carl is also there?
Yes.
My goodness. Carl, where are you?
I'm in
Good
Bangalore.
morning, Sam, sir.
Greetings from India.
Yeah. I know.
Good morning,
I
sir.
know. Yes.
Rajinder here.
Good. Hi, Rajvinder. Yeah, Carl is also a great friend who has been working in India for quite some time. Hi, Fabia. Oh, she's also there. Good. Hi, Fabiola. How are you?
Good evening. It's an honor to be
Good.
here.
Good. Thank you, Fabiola. Fabiola works at the University of Chicago. She is with me on the board at Fermi Lab. We meet regularly.
Sam, good morning. This is Manoj.
Of course, Manoj. How are you? Good to see you.
Good, improving.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Manoj.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Good morning, Sam.
Nice to see you.
Yes, good morning. I saw you.
Sam by Kirti here. Hi.
Oh my goodness. Look at Kirti Bhai. Looking good, Kirti Bhai. Yeah, good to see so many friends. Maybe we should do these book releases once in a while just to get everybody together.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yes.
You just have to start writing once a month rather than once a year.
Yeah, I think it's good to see all the faces. I've not seen Kirti Bhai for quite some time. Wow.
It was remarkable. Wonderful.
Nice to see you, Rao.
See you here.
Satnam, how are you?
Thanks, Sam. Fine. Hi, Sam. Hi, Kapil.
Hello.
Hi. I'm traveling, but I can hear you.
Thank you. You're in a car.
There were
Klaus
too
is
many
there.
programs.
She's on holiday, I believe.
Yeah. There is another friend of mine, Klaus. He's from Germany. Alice. Hi, Alice. How are you?
Oh, congratulations on another great book.
Thank you, Alice. Yep. I haven't seen Alice for a while, so good to see her.
Sam, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think we can start, Radhika.
Yes, sounds good.
Okay. Rakesh, are we ready to go?
Yes, sir. People are joining, but you can start now.
Okay.
Rakesh, you want to put Sam on spotlight, Sam, Kapil, and maybe Radhika on spotlight?
Rakesh?
Thanks so much, Rakesh.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I would have started with a good evening, but seeing just the group of people here, I think that probably wouldn't work. I see so many eminent people here from all over the world, all here to celebrate this fantastic book, which we have just launched, The Idea of Democracy by Mr. Sam Pitroda. This is a special book. It's our third at Penguin Random House India with Mr. Pitroda, and it has been an absolute joy working with him on it. I really don't want to hold this up. I want to bring a senior lawyer and a very eminent politician, Mr. Kapil Sibbal, and member of Rajya Sabha, to be in conversation with Mr. Pitroda. If I were just to go over all the people very well known in their respective fields who are present here in this Zoom room just to celebrate this book and Mr. Pitroda, I could go on for the rest of the evening. But over to Mr. Pitroda to begin and let us know your thoughts, and I look forward to a very engaging discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Radhika. Radhika works with the Penguin. She has been a great supporter for me. So thank you, Radhika. Thanks, Kapil, for agreeing to join us on this conversation. Kapil also has been a very close friend for many years, worked together, distinguished personality on the Indian scene. And I want to welcome you all, my friends and family. It is so good to see your faces. I wish I could do this more frequently just to see you all together. Okay, it is a special joy to see so many of these friends joining for a conversation. And it's a special honor for me to be here with Kapil. So the format is, after Radhika's brief introduction, Kapil and I will have a conversation. We leave it to Kapil to navigate that. And then there will be question answers. Kapil will also mention that press would be entertained first. And we would like you to identify yourself, from where you are, what institution, and Kapil would help moderate this. With this, over to Kapil.
Thank you very much. First of all, hello everybody, and Sam, hello to you in particular. It's a great honor for me to be with you here this evening to celebrate what I believe is a book which will attract everybody, the young, the professionals, the politician, the academic, because you have encapsulated with such great simplicity issues relating to the idea of democracy. And as you know, as we know, that if you look at the history of the world, democracy as a phenomenon is a relatively recent phenomenon. And in a sense, over the years, it's gone wayward. And I think that's why Sam wrote this book. He was trying to analyze the state of global democracy, the workings of democracy, its essence. And in that context, he looks at how it's working in the United States, how it's working in India, in particular these two countries. Why? Because one is the largest democracy in the world, and the other is the oldest democracy in the world. And then he looks at issues like capitalism and democracy. Has capitalism enhanced concepts of democracy and freedom, or is it standing in the way? Values in democracy, it seems that if you look at the workings of the democratic systems in many parts of the world, there is a lack of sync between values and the functioning of democracy. Then how technology is changing the face of democracy itself, the enormous capacity of technology to enhance democratic processes, and at the same time, how technology can actually weaken the institution itself. And what is required is leadership, and in the ultimate analysis, how do we redesign democracy? That's really the canvas of what Sam has tried to cover. Well, let me start off by asking you, Sam, what made you write this book?
Thank you, Kapil. The reason for writing the book really relates to what is going on in the US as well as what is going on in India. I am very concerned about the state of democracy and potential challenges going forward in both of these countries. In addition, in 2024, there are elections in 64 countries. More than half of the world population would be going to vote in 2024. Hasn't happened before at all. And many of these countries are going through same set of challenges. Turkey, Hungary, UK, to some extent, Mexico. So I have friends in many of these countries, and I believe the problems are very similar. Authoritarian regimes are getting more attention. Institutions are bending. They are losing their independence. People are not sure what is right, what is wrong, because of the social media is amplifying lies. So these are the concerns. Kapil? I'm sorry, you lost your voice.
Now, I want to ask you a specific question. There has been a decline in the functioning of democratic institutions all over the world.
Yes.
And I want you to, if possible, pinpoint as to what do you think happened and why had democracy been sliding down this road towards autocracy?
Yeah, I have been listening to a lot of friends and learning, and I have basically come to following two conclusions. Not that I'm right. Time will tell. One, if you go back in the history, we always had kings and queens and their coterie as the group of people, elites, running societies. Whether those were kings in India or in Britain or in France or Germany or wherever. Okay. That lasted for hundreds of years. And then all of a sudden, they were eliminated with revolution in France, Russia, ultimately fall of British Raj, and the new set of elites emerged. These elites were politicians and businessmen with big money and some intellectuals. Now I believe that regime is falling apart. People are challenging these elites, saying, hey, you guys haven't done your job. We threw one set of elites out, and we're going to throw you new set of elites out because you have ganged up together and not allowed people at the bottom of the economic pyramid to flourish. There is inequality. There are no jobs. Few have become very rich, and you all are filling your own pockets. That's one reason I believe things are going this way. The second reason is social media. Hyperconnectivity has empowered people, and people feel they are entitled to their rights. They are entitled to a better life. And you guys are sucking it up. So I think these two may be the reasons. Okay.
Well, let me go back to the question that I asked, and I don't think that I got a clear answer. Let me put a proposition to you, and I want your response on it.
Please.
You see, when we liberalize the economies of the world after the WTO, and through that liberalization process, you had both movement of capital across boundaries, and you also had movement of manpower across boundaries. And so there was a lack of the stable regimes became unstable in the context of the sources of capital being shifted from one place to another. And to that extent, the workplace being affected. And the system, that is the capitalistic system, through a process of liberalization, not being able to deliver to the poor. So the process was that the rich became rich. And you mentioned in your book that the poor people in this world are about 5.2 billion people, right? The rich have become richer, the gap has increased, and liberalization and liberal economies have not delivered. And the workplace has got disturbed, which has resulted in the rise of hate.
Agree.
In other words, you blame your neighbor for what's happened to you. And this has been a failure of the liberal economic structure that the world embraced. Is that correct? Are you agreeing?
That is absolutely correct. And that's the part of the fact that new elite have cornered resources for themselves. See, people went to China because they wanted to avoid labor challenges. They wanted to avoid polluting their own country. So they went to China for cheap labor, more profit. So wealth got concentrated in the small group of people. In the process, they lost lots of jobs to authoritarian regime. And they don't have jobs at home because they moved all their production to China. Nobody's producing anything in the world anymore of any substance. Chinese produce everything. And that is a challenge. In the process, a lot of people remain poor in the democratic world. So I agree. But that is part of the equation that elite put together to benefit themselves.
But that's bound to happen, sir. That's bound to happen. If you allow capital to move, I mean, when big business in the US invested in China, actually they wanted to produce goods and services at cheaper costs so that they could actually sell them and increase their market share. So the result was that capital moved, Americans lost jobs, right? And in Europe, what happened was people moved, and the domestic economies lost domestic jobs. And so the result was that the process of liberalization produced such a complete shift in the manner in which democracies worked that people started revolting.
Absolutely. And that's why we need new economy. That's why we need new economy, new ways to look at capitalism. You know, earlier people thought that capitalism and democracy go hand in hand. But Chinese have shown that they can have capitalist society under authoritarian regime. And the rest of the world today don't produce anything as a result. So we got to restructure our economy.
It is much worse, Sam. It is much worse. Now what's happening is, who are the elites in the world? The elites in the world are these big global corporations.
That's it.
Who are controlling the capital of the world.
That is
the process controlling politics in the world. So in other words, the danger is not so much from A country or B country. The danger is from the big conglomerates. That's my worry.
Yes, I agree, because I have said recently, time and time again, that all multinationals are basically East India Company of the past. East India Company was the first real multinational which went all over the world to capture resources and labor. In the process, those countries became very poor because they sucked everything out of these countries. And as a result, this model is celebrated. So every big company today is basically an East India Company, no matter how you look at it. Okay. I mean, you look at some of the big digital companies. They are in India. They are taking all kinds of resources from India out. And what is India getting out of it? Not much. So I think we need a new model of capitalism where we focus on decentralization, localization, local talent, local market, local resources, and not blindly globalize everything.
But I'm afraid, Sam, that's not going to happen, because these companies, these multinationals have become too powerful. They not only control the politics of the country, they control the kinds of goods and services that will be sent to those countries. They
I agree, and that's why democracy
alliances with the elites of those countries. They control the media in those countries, and they are not accountable to anybody, because they are not accountable to parliament. They are not accountable to elected representatives, and you can't control them. So how do we
agree with you? I think we are on the same page on it. I write about this in the book, but it deserves completely new book. This topic is so very important that many more people will have to write, debate, discuss, and bring it in the public domain. This is the crux of the matter today. Okay, I agree.
There is an alliance between the corporate sector the politician, and the media.
Absolutely.
That axis is so strong that's impossible to break it.
Because they are basically saying, let's scratch each other's back and we will milk the system. Okay. I mean, look at how the media operates today. Media is not fair, doesn't give you the same level playing field. You know, you don't get the coverage if you don't have money. But if you are a rich billionaire and you say whatever you want to say, and automatically it will be flashed out all over the world. Okay. If you're a poor and you have something to say, nobody will pay attention. I mean, look at World Economic Forum is a classical example where all the rich and famous go and they think they are ruling the world. That's how it is projected. You know?
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. In the process, what's happening, and I want your views on it, that the media feeds whatever the politician wants the media to feed. The counterpoint actually is never before the people of the country. The people don't know what the counterpoint is. So there is no, because remember, democracy means, as you said in your book, demos, people, and then rule, right?
Absolutely.
Now it's people's rule, but the people are not even part of the process anymore.
That is the problem with democracy today. That is the problem because democracy has been hijacked.
So how do you decentralize it? How do you decentralize the system?
I think people will have to rise. It's a different kind of a revolution. Okay, people will have to rise and realize that they are voting for their children's future. They are not voting for this person or that person. They really have to vote for the future of humanity, really. You know, see today, and I have said this again many times, everyone is focused on power and profits when they should be really focused on planet and people. I end this book by saying, we need to ask fundamental question. And that is this good for planet? We should do it. If it is good for people, we should do it. Today, the question being asked is it good for my power? I will do it. If it is good for my partner's profit, I will do that. And that's why there is a chaos. Okay.
That's why you say that, in fact, if democracy is not aligned to a value system, then it will be debased in this fashion. That's what you've said.
We have lost values. We have lost values. People have lost character. People want instant gratification. They lie, they cheat to optimize their profit immediately. Okay, and power. I mean, national leaders have no problem lying in front of a camera and they can get away with it.
You have seen that in the United States and we are seeing it in our country as well.
Absolutely. And they can get away with it. People respect these people. I don't understand. How could you respect a leader of a nation who is a pathological liar? But apparently we don't understand the process. Okay. Yeah. And that's a very serious issue.
But the problem is that in that context, you see, actually, when you talk of democracy as an idea, you're really, in fact, in that sense, talking about liberty as well of individuals. Absolutely. The essence of democracy is the liberty of and the fundamental rights of the natural rights of the individual, right to life, right to say what you want to say, of course, subject to some constraints, right to do what you want to do, right to go where you want to get. All those are basic rights. All those rights are now being trampled. In fact, in democratic countries, therefore you call some countries flawed democracies, you call some countries the electoral autocracies, you know, so you've said that all in your book, and I commend this book to all those who are not here, but also outside, that you will find in this book shades of democracy and the different shades of democracy which are not aligned to each other at all. And it makes a very difficult way to actually deal with democracy. I am reminded of the words of Learned Hand when we talk about liberties, and I will read it out to you. These are wonderful words. He said, Liberty lies in the hearts of men and women. When it dies there, no constitution, no law, no court can even do much to help it. While it lies there, it needs no constitution, no law, no court to save it.
Agree, completely agree. And that's what I try to say in the book in a different way, that it is all about character. It's all about values. It's all about leadership, And democracy is not just one word. Like you said, it's about justice, freedom, liberty, inclusion, diversity, equality, equity. And these are not just words. These are standards by which you live. And I was talking to another friend of mine. I see him here, Carlos from Mexico, a very distinguished person from Mexico. And we have same issues in Mexico today. And
these are what you've said are civilizational fundamentals. Without inclusivity, diversity, equity, there can't be any civilization worth the name.
That's what we are fighting for right now. Right now, world is really fighting for fundamental values. Our children also have lost fundamental values as a result of what is going on. I mean, can you imagine the kind of children growing up today in India, watching Indian television every day and looking at the values people celebrate? What will happen to their future? I'm more worried about that. Okay, saying what kind of generation we are grooming with this kind of scenario. And it bothers me.
Our only hope is for people to rise. People to say, we do not want this. We want
That's why
change.
the book. That's why the book saying, think about it.
So I want to end this conversation because it's over 20 minutes now. That's why the book, and thank you very much. I think it's something that is a must read for every citizen who values, values what human beings actually stand for and why we are here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kapil. I have seen in the process some friends. One I really want to acknowledge is Rinku Paul. Rinku is my colleague who helped me in putting this book together, did some research and helped me a lot. Then I have friends from France, Thomas. I have friends from US, Sam, then Carlos and, Klaus. And I'm so happy to see you all. And Kapil, thank you for initiating this conversation. And now the floor is yours and people will ask questions and you decide who you want to.
Certainly. Actually, you have what is called a chat notification. So kindly send your questions and so we can answer them.
Yeah, there are lots of questions on the chat, So
I have one request for Rakesh. Rakesh, can you put both Sam and Kapil on spotlight so that we can see?
They are on a spotlight.
When you ask the question, please identify yourself, what organization you belong to, or what you do as your profession or otherwise, so that we can sort of know, who you are. That's all.
Yeah. Good.
Go ahead.
Which question first, Rakesh? Hello?
Yeah, yet I haven't seen.
I've seen on the chat lots of
I think there are lots of people raising their hands. So maybe we can start with Mr. Ashwin Kumaraswamy. I see his hand is raised. So if you can unmute.
Okay, Radhika, that'd be good if you can just lead that.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Sam. So Ashwin here. I'm a technology venture capitalist. My question to you is, in your book, you talk about people need to raise up and ask for their rights. And in different parts of the world, be it Sri Lanka, be it in Latin America, people have risen up, but the system has gone back to being a default system. Is this because we have lack of good quality examples in political landscape? Is this because of that? Or, as you rightly say, the value system is eroded so much, we really need to find a new balance in the value system?
I think it's all of that. I wish there was one silver bullet, Ashwin. There is no one silver bullet. You need people with courage to stand up. It is a fight, and that fight will require some sacrifices. But a lot of people are afraid to stand up because they are being attacked day in, day out. Okay. In addition, the leaders don't have the kind of quality you need. Can you imagine what would Gandhiji do today? What would Mandelas of the world do today? But those kinds of leaders don't exist anymore. All of these leaders are petty, selfish. They are only into personal glory and gains. I mean, how could you be a leader of a country and take credit for everything? You should be ashamed of yourself. Okay.
No, but let me add something. Let me add something, Sam, if you don't mind.
Please.
You see, unlike the past, the state is I think in the history of the world, the state is perhaps the most powerful entity today than it's ever been in the past. The most powerful. So the kind of national movement that Gandhiji started would fail. I'm sorry to say.
Yes.
Would fail today, right? Because the state is so powerful. Why is it so powerful? It can monitor your movements.
Yep.
It can monitor where you go, what you say, when you say, how you say, right? It can actually intrude into your room, into your private lives. Now, we cannot fight the state, which has become so powerful. So you have to dismantle this power. And that's the challenge before us.
Absolutely. They're misusing technology, completely. They are using technology which was designed to really empower people, to control people. The mindset is that of command and control, and not that of collaboration, cooperation, co-creation.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have lots more
here.
questions.
For example, there's Rahul Mukherjee here. There are a lot of interesting people here who have spent their life on looking at these kinds of issues. Yes, Radhika.
Okay, maybe we can have Thomas Daff on, who has his hand raised.
Yes.
Yes, hello, Sam. Well done for your book. Congratulations. You mentioned earlier in your introductory talk about the role of intellectuals, that they've been supporting, the thinking behind democracy. You and I both serve on the board of the World Intellectual Forum, and we've been thinking through how we can, do it better. I just wonder if you can talk briefly about the role of intellectuals in reshaping democracy. In a sense, your book is an attempt. And secondly, what is the role of education? It was Thomas Jefferson that said, a democracy is only as intelligent as the education of the voters. How can we increase the educational standards of democracies? Because that, it seems, is the great bulwark. Do you address that in your book? Thank you.
Little bit, not quite, because the problem I find today is who is ready to listen? Intellectuals may have a lot of answers, but who is ready to listen? Nobody is listening. Everybody wants to broadcast. See, everybody wants to give you advice. Nobody wants to do much. I get on an average 500 emails a day. And maybe 300-400 phone calls of all kinds. And it's all about advice. Rahul Gandhi should do this, Congress party should do this, India should do this, America should do this. What are you going to do? I think we are at a point now where people need to start listening. Fundamental values of democracy are easy to understand if you want to understand. You don't need a PhD in democracy to understand. Just look at your life. Do you like freedom? Do you like justice? Do you want to be treated with respect and dignity? Do the same thing to others. Do you like diversity? So these are fundamental issues. You got to really go back to fundamental issues. And that's the challenging part today, Thomas. Thank you.
If I may add, Sam, if you don't mind, I think it's a very important question. If you look at education today, it's all about acquiring skills.
Absolutely.
It's all about acquiring technological skills. How do you access something, right? It's not about education. Education is far removed from acquiring skills. And today, the whole global economy is moving towards acquiring skills, and fundamentals of education are being lost. And therefore, spend on education is decreasing from year to year. Basic values of education. The world has not invested enough on education and health. In the absence of that, you cannot have change.
And also, I think education is geared more towards productivity, efficiency, cost reduction. Education is more about extracting value than creating value.
Correct.
That bothers me a lot. All business education and all leadership classes are about extracting value. How do I extract value from here?
I think another data point there is philosophy. I think philosophy has been removed out of educational system. Hence, be it innovation for the sake of innovation, let's take AI and the ills of AI around the safety mechanics, or philosophy of learning, acquiring knowledge is removed as well. So I agree with the larger point that education is the place that we need to invest more.
Sure. Radhika?
Yeah. Okay. Can we have Neeraj Gupta unmute himself?
Hello, Sam. Hello, Mr. Sibbal.
Hi, Neeraj.
I have a question, and the reference point here is Mr. Sibbal said very rightly, the state has become very powerful today. And Sam, as you say rightly, we are all expecting that people need to rise up. So my question, and I would like some comments on that, it seems an additional factor that has come into place is in most countries in the world, I see in India as well as in USA, the state and the politicians are able to give so many freebies to the people that when we compare it to about 30, 40 years back when hunger and so on would cause people to rise up and come to the streets, they no longer have the incentive to come because at least at this time, the freebies are taking care of their basic needs.
Yeah, there are two different views on this. I'm sure Kapil will have a lot more to say than I have. I don't see freebies at freebies. I see freebies, not all of it, but a lot of it, more as a survival. Okay, people need food. People need, they have been completely ignored. I mean, look at this scheme we started in Manmohan Singh's time called Narega. One could say it was freebie, but at the same time, it really lifted a lot of poor people out of poverty. It gave them meaningful work, little bit of respect. Okay. But there is a limit. And I agree with the limit that you can't be just distributing freebies all the time. Kapil?
Yeah. I mean, you see, as I said, this is a very controversial subject, and you rightly said that. The problem is the following. If your capitalistic, your liberal structure has not been able to deliver to the poor, and the poor remain poor, and they don't have enough food, they don't have access to health care, you will have Ayushman Bharat, you will have 25 kilograms of food for a 5-member family, because they don't have enough food. So the result is it's free, they afford freebies, but it's in a sense, the state is trying to help people live who are marginalized in society to be able to survive. And the politician uses this to buy votes. So there are two aspects of this freebie. It is for them to survive, so they are happy that they've got 25 kilograms of grain in their house, so there's no problem. They get a cylinder, they get Ayushman Bharat, they can go to any hospital. But it's also to buy votes, and these freebies are distributed more during election time. So it's a double-edged sword.
Okay, can we have Glenn Martin next?
Yes. Hi, Glenn. Hello.
Glenn, I think you need to unmute yourself, please.
Hey, Glenn.
Hi, Sam. Congratulations again on your book. We were talking about it a little bit in the last couple of days and are visiting to Chicago.
Yes.
One of the I think difficulties of democracy that both of you were talking about earlier, the rule of this transnational ruling class and corporations, which are beyond the control of nations, any individual nation, is compounded by a system of militarized nation states in competition with one another, who are need propaganda, they need security, they need the CIA, they need all kinds of intelligence services, making the world is a political chaos. And every nation feels a threat to its security, which diminishes the possibility of democracy inside, because the nations are spying on their own population, they're worried about terrorism and so on.
Yep.
My argument is that we need to begin thinking about democracy at the global level. We need to, my organization sponsors the Constitution for the Federation of Earth. And if we can move a genuine democracy to the global level where the role of the government is to really deal with these global problems, climate collapse, disarmament of the nations, protection of human rights for everybody, then we human beings would have moved to a level that makes democracy really possible for everybody for the first time. I just wanted to throw that out and hear your response to the idea.
No, Glenn, I agree. In my earlier book on redesigning the world, I talk about 5 fundamental issues that require our attention. We need democracies to be more inclusive. We need to respect every religion, every gender, every language, every state, every custom. The beauty is our diversity. 2, we need to provide basic needs to people. 3, we need to really redesign our capitalism. 4, we need to focus on sustainability. And 5, which is the most important thing that you talked about, is nonviolence. We have a violent world. World is run by military industrial complex. We spend in US $1 trillion a year on defense. We are asking every country to increase their budget to 2%, 3% of their GDP on defense. I mean, what kind of a system is that? Okay. We are not talking about increasing budget on health or education, but we are forcing people, in a sense, to really increase their defense budget. I mean, people take great pride saying my government bought, missiles or aeroplanes or drones, and everybody claps and, saying, oh, what a great success. And then everything has gone haywire. Okay. People go abroad to make defense deals, and they are national leaders, and they consider that as an accomplishment. So it is a problem. We do need some kind of global constitution, minimum, but saying world must agree to this set of principles. Yeah. And it hasn't happened. UN doesn't have global constitution. It is time to create global constitution. I talk about that in my book. And a lot of people are working on it, but how do we get everybody together is a challenge.
Yeah. As you know, we're working on a plan to try to make that happen.
Radhika.
Yeah. Can we have George Abraham next, please?
Thank you, Radhia. And congratulations, Samji, on this book, and it's so timely. My question is, as you have rightly observed, these democracies are definitely now becoming electoral autocracies. And although we had some great framework, great constitution done by the fathers of modern India, you could see that institutions are being undermined. My question is, I don't know whether you dealt with this in the book, how can we stop really any regime which comes through the constitutional path, then turn around and make it or diminish the importance of these independence of institutions and undermine it? What is the solution you have for that?
The only solution is to make our institutions independent, autonomous, give them the freedom and flexibility they deserve in the Constitution. And it all boils down to the quality of leadership. if the quality of leadership is bad and people around the leader support that kind of authoritarian attitude, then you have two choices. Either you keep supporting them, make them more powerful, or you throw them out. People will have to decide that. Okay.
Can we have
Let
Vishal
me
next,
just,
please?
just 1 second, just Radhika, let me just respond to that.
Sorry, please go on, sir.
The two most important institutions in any democratic country, is the media, judiciary. The media because it brings information to people, the judiciary because it's a constraint on authoritarianism. If these two institutions get compromised, just these two institutions, then the citadel of democracy will fall. And I've seen that happening across the world. And that's the danger.
Yeah.
Yes. Sir, congratulations on your
Yeah,
book, sir.
Vishal.
And sir, the reference point for my question is the Kapil sir's mention about the having enormous power of on the people's data, so they can track the people, they can listen to them. So, what is that stopping of that particular things requires from the side of state, or what kind of institutions do we need in future to do that? That's a question number one. And second is, sir, when we see a lot of and this problem in democracy is all across the world, US, India, everywhere there are a number of democracies which are going through the same. So does it mean that are we done with the democratic system what we used to have, or is there still hope, or do we need a new democratic system? What is the future lies with the system?
Well, I'll let Kapil answer that and then I can add to it. Kapil?
Yeah. You see, the problem is the following, that see, the nature of politics has changed and the nature of democracy has changed. And the problem is that the big conglomerates who feed information to people are not accountable to anybody. There is something happening in the United States in the Senate and in the House of Representatives where they are being questioned. See, what data flow, not by you and me, but by these people who flow the data. Right now, they have no constraints. They will send that data into the system which they choose to send, and there is no accountability there.
Yeah.
Now, unless you control the flow of data and that they are accountable to somebody, you'll never be able to remedy the system, and that's the biggest challenge that we have in today's democracy.
I'll give, like Kapil said, media really twists information in a manner that is suitable to their narrative. Okay. So I see a lot of
it's the
so let's
source.
move on. I see
It's the source. It's the source of information. See, media will twist it. The source of information is polluted. They choose what people should see.
Absolutely. But there are lots of hands. I see a friend of mine, Frank Shell. I see Vanita. I see Rahul Mukherjee. So, Radhika?
Yeah, maybe Rahul, could you go first?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Rahul Mukherjee. I hold the chair of the Modern Politics of South Asia at the South Asia Institute at Heidelberg University. And I'm also kind of, Sam probably doesn't know, but I studied him very closely. And therefore, I'm not actually a hater of capitalism, because between him and Rajiv Gandhi, they did something. I mean, there are a lot of things that Rajiv Gandhi did that have not been acknowledged, which has to do with the rise of telecommunications and the IT sector. Unfortunately, we scholars become academic and we don't know what's happening on the ground. We need to be much more grounded. And it was some of those inspirations that actually crafted, in many ways, to cut a long story short, the reforms of 1991, which also led to its problems and contradictions. And one has to acknowledge that the neoliberal world has problems that were sought to be corrected by a more social democratic approach, which began to occur after 2005. So essentially, this is a problem of capitalism that has been resolved in social democratic settings. But we find today that capital itself has become so powerful that it is actually not restrained by the state. So I would argue that the state has actually become less capable. When we do our research on Hindenburg and on what's happening to Geo, we find that the same kinds of checks and balances that were possible when the WLL crisis happened, or when, 144 licenses were cancelled by the Supreme Court and a telecom minister was put behind bars, do not exist. And people confuse this. They think that, there was corruption in the past and there is corruption today. But they don't understand that the paradigm has actually changed. And I am not so sure that the state is on top, because I think you need much deeper understanding of political economy to understand how capitalists get away with murder today in a manner that was not even possible in India's crooked past. So that is one line of thoughts that I think we can pursue in, especially with Mr. Pitroda. The other line of thought is the real tragedy, that India has an inheritance of living with diversity, which is much, much greater than what even Germany has today, where democracy is far more resilient. However, we are now trying to mimic national.
Can we just go to the question, Rahul, and then move on, because there are too many people waiting.
Yeah. So I just that comment that we are now trying to mimic this kind of nationalism of the West, and I think it's very, very important that we have to find the solutions within our systems, because if we look at the West for solving our problems of democracy and capitalism, they will not happen. And my question, therefore, is that how do we critically look at the past, which has, it's not just that the BJP that has come today, right? We have to kind of find out how we let this happen in a way that can be corrected.
Good point. I wish I had the clear answer. Maybe Kapil has.
No, I can't possibly have an answer, because the present party and the government control every aspect of our lives. And the kind of non-level playing field that we have in this country today. Against Modi, political parties have really no role to play in the opposition, quite frankly. It's people versus Modi, not Congress or TMC or political parties versus Modi, because Modi controls everything.
But how could one man control like that? I just don't get it.
Because, Sam, he controls the media, he controls money, he controls the ED, he controls the CBI, he controls governors, what does he not control? Just to give me one example of what he doesn't control.
You and me?
Yeah, but we are known voices, we continue to speak. But within the system, we don't really matter.
True. Yeah, Vinita? Radhika?
Yeah, Vinita.
No, Vinita, you are muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Maybe we'll come back to Vinita. Frank, would you like to go?
Yeah,
Vinita,
we can hear you now.
Yes,
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a good segue into what I wanted to ask. So, without belaboring the point, I think we've called out the nexus between money, which is large corporates, power, politician, etc. I've thought about this often, and I would like to get any perspective from, either of you to say, apart from, going and voting, apart from creating meaningful change in the domains in which we work, the other big thing that as an individual you can take on is challenging the system legally, for which I think Mr. Sibbal, you said quite clearly, you need a strong judiciary. If I was confident that if I went with PILs or different points of view and I would get justice, not that I would win, it would be worth the fight. Right now, that's not a level playing field either. So, my dilemma really is, even when you want to make the right thing happen, where do you start?
Let me answer that by saying,
please.
First thing this country must do is go back to the ballot paper. Let the people's vote be decided through a paper ballot.
I agree.
Then you'll get to know what the citizen and the individual who votes feels. And this machine is not something that should be accepted in any democracy. And you'll get to know what really the people want when the ballot is there.
How do
I
we
think that's
get
the starting point. That's the starting point.
But how do we get there? I mean, we've talked about it. It's very real.
It won't happen. It won't happen. It may happen in the next election. It won't happen in this election.
Yeah. The other thing also is the ecosystem that we've built, and what is praised is completely in conflict with what you said, Sam. I mean, we want a world that is collaborative, not competitive. And yet, what do we see? We see companies ranked in order of valuations, not values. We see individuals ranked in order of their billionaire wealth. Is anybody talking about the hundreds of thousands of ASHA workers, who are getting not even minimum salary, and on whose shoulders the entire healthcare of this country rests, whether it was COVID vaccinations or anything else. So whether it's the corporate world, whether it's the investment bankers, everybody is worshipping the Lord of Money.
That's true. So you can't do anything about it at this point in time.
I agree with Ms. Vanita, and I said that shall we not challenge the judiciary, ED, because they have their limitations. They have their limitations power under the right administrative. We can challenge them because they.
How do we challenge them? We've been trying to move the Supreme Court to review the judgment. They don't constitute the bench. How do we challenge them? Somebody has to hear us, no?
Yeah, I agreed that we have they took a step to challenge them, but judiciary by delegations of the power under the one of my friend told me that under the joint administrative provisions, on the basis of the Article 299 and 300, we can challenge because the judiciary they have limitations. What person issued the notice to the persons? Any person, then they have is that person have a judiciary power?
Sir, that's a very limited question. We're talking about democracy and the concept of democracy. I think this question should be addressed in another forum at another time.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Sibbal. There are lots of great questions in the chat as well. I'm just going to pick up one from Misha Keel, which is about whether Muslims should be speaking up about the issues currently happening in India, with the prejudice happening between religions and the plummeting sense of secularism. If Muslims do speak up, they're targeted immensely. Would Mr. Sibbal or Mr. Pitroda like to take this one?
No, I sent a note to Misha separately, saying it needs broader conversation. I agree that Muslims need to speak up. I think Muslims need to speak up in one voice and not in multiple voices. And you can't be coward. You got to have the courage. Okay, Gandhiji always talked about courage. And in the process, some people get affected. In the process, injustice happens to people. But courage is very important. I mean, to me, how could you isolate 200 million Muslims in India? They are part and parcel of my life. I grew up with it. Music, food, they are me. Okay? And how can you not understand that? I don't get it. Okay? Same with Sikh. Same with, Christians. Same with Jews. Same with Buddhists. Okay? They all have their place in the society. They all must be respected. They must be given same opportunities. And it is same for Dalits and OBCs and, tribals. Okay? So why are we polarizing our societies? Same thing is happening in US. You have Black Lives Matter. Look at the kind of speeches Mr. Trump gives. We have similar issues in Europe on immigration or migration. Okay? So everywhere, you need to focus on inclusion. And that we have not learned to do in democracy.
Well, why do we talk only about Muslims? Why don't
No, I'm
you
not.
and
I'm
I
not
speak
saying
up?
only about Muslims.
Why doesn't the middle class in this country speak up?
That's what I'm saying. Everybody. That's why I said,
Not everyone. Muslims are afraid. What is the middle class afraid of?
Yes.
They are afraid of their comfort. In fact, if you
Yes.
ask me, they are more to blame. The poor
Yes.
Muslim is afraid that he'll be beaten up tomorrow. He'll be lynched tomorrow. But what is there in the middle class in this country? They have failed us. According to me, if anybody has really failed us, it's the educated in this country who have failed us. Because they don't raise their voice.
Yeah.
Can we have the next question from Frank Shell, please?
Hi, Frank.
Yes,
Good to see you.
thank you. Good morning. Good morning. My name's Frank Shell. I'm a retired banker, and I taught a course for 9 years at the University of Chicago on India public policy. And Sam was my frequent guest, and it was a great honor. Sam, thanks again. Here's what's bothering me, Sam, and maybe you can help me. This concept of Alexis de Tocqueville, the French political scientist and philosopher, wrote 2 volumes called Democracy in America about 1835.
Wow.
And he says that in a democracy, liberty and equality are irreconcilable, because if people are born free, they have a right to be unequal. And if people are made equal, then their right to be free has been taken away. How would you respond to him if he said that today in this forum?
I would agree with him 100%. Yep. Shame that we haven't done that for 100 whatever years it is. Yep.
The essence of that is equality of opportunity. There can be no absolute equality anywhere in the world, but there has to be equality of opportunity. Now, if you don't have children going to school because people don't have access to schools, if you don't have children going for healthcare because you have no access to healthcare, then you are denying basic human rights, and that's the starting point of inequality.
Yep.
We have to deal with that.
I think we're almost at the end of time while the questions keep coming.
Anirudh.
We'll take 2 last questions. Anirudh and then Rajesh Reddy, please.
Okay.
Thank you so much. My name is Anirudh. I work at the GovLab on participatory democracy. Sam, you speak in the book about Gandhian values in democracy, and I suppose there's no constitutional value more Gandhian than the Panchayati Raj and sort of decentralizing power in this country. One, how do we give more power to things like the 73rd Amendment and the Panchayati Raj system? And 2, I live in Bangalore, and 2 of the largest municipal corporations in this country, Bombay and Bangalore, have not had elections for, in one case, 2 years, and in the other 5. So without the most basic tenet of democracy, which is an election and voting, how do we give effect to these principles?
Well, they should have elections, but they don't do it. That's why you have a problem.
I think more than that, there must be devolution of financial power.
Yeah.
You see, to have an election and to get elected is one thing. But once you get elected, you should have capital in your hands to serve the community of that particular panchayat of which you're a member. Now, there is no devolution of financial power because the state legislature does not want to devolve that because it wants to control money.
Yep.
So unless actually you have devolution of financial power, you're not going to get the Panchayati Raj you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, Rajesh Reddy.
Yeah. Congratulations, Sam sir. This is Rajesh Reddy. I'm in USA. I'm Indian Overseas Congress Telangana president. My question is straight to Kapil sir. We are going, the largest democracy is going elections in next 2 months. And oldest democracy is going the elections in November in America. And the really meaning of the democracy, these 2 countries so far holds. But after these elections, and the democracy meaning will change, like the same thing like North Korea, they have a democracy too. They say democracy, they'll vote. North Korea and as well as and Russia. So it may heading to on their directions. So what is the stake on that? Because how are we going to prevent this? And
But while you might be afraid that this might happen, I can tell you that this won't happen. In India, it won't happen.
Agree.
Because India is so diverse. As a country, we are so diverse that no one leader can ever control the diversity of this country. And therefore, we're not going to go the way Russia goes. We're not going to go the way North Korea goes. I can give you my assurance to that. I don't know about the United States of America. I'm not too sure about that, but I'm sure about my country.
Thank you, sir. On that note, you said you're controlling, Modi is controlling everything. And now, last 10 years, he was saying that corruption. Now the Modi gate came out. So how do you reach the public for this corruption to the common man?
That's why I want the ballot. I want the paper ballot for that very reason.
I agree with Kapil 100% on paper ballot. I have lost trust with EVM, VVPAT. I have lost trust with the Election Commission.
That's right.
And that trust deficit is a major concern, and it must be addressed. It must be addressed by Supreme Court. It must be addressed by people. It must be addressed by Election Commission. If there is no assurance of fair and free elections, what are we going to elect? Okay. So this is a major concern, but nobody is paying attention. Nobody is listening.
Can opposition parties jointly boycott it, threat that will boycott elections if a paper ballot doesn't come back?
So that doesn't serve anybody. You're just playing into people's hands, that's all.
And they'll say, okay, boycott it. We are elected. You know?
Unfortunately, invigorating and interesting as this debate and discussion has been, we draw to a close now. I'd like to thank...
Radhika, we have questions from some of Sam's social media channels. We wanted to take it at the end. Sam, do you want to go for it?
I'll let Radhika decide, but let's do no more than 3 more minutes, okay?
Okay.
And then maybe we should have Kapil make a closing comment. I can make a closing comment and then turn it over to Radhika.
Perfect. Maybe, Rakesh, you want to go ahead with the question?
Yeah, just a couple of questions, okay? Because we don't have much time.
Yeah, this is Sean, Sam. The question is primarily on Indian National Congress, the assurances, the manifesto, which has come out day before yesterday. And there is a section on saving democracy, removing fear, restoring freedom. Congratulations for that. It's great to see 18 assurances, promises on democracy itself, defending the constitution, 8
But
on
Sean,
media.
this is not about Congress party.
Yeah, no. The question is,
Yeah,
the
so
question is
please,
on, the question
let's
is
get
on,
to the question.
yeah, the question is on the EVMs. So the EVMs still, the many parties like Congress is still voting for EVM, and they are trying to propose VVPAT and counting. So both of you are visionaries who have been engaged on
I think
EVM.
Kapil just very openly said about his views on paper ballot. I also endorse it. And that says it. You know, whether Congress party endorses it or not is a Congress party issue. And I respect that. Okay. I don't want to speak on behalf of Congress at this event because this is about the book.
Sure thing, Sam. Okay. And there is a question on judiciary. Judiciary is the last straw upholding democracy. And somebody wants to know about your thoughts. Where are we heading? Is it a judiciary having complete neutrality or they are allowed to perform their functions?
That's not the subject matter of this event. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, Kapil, you want to have a closing remark?
Yeah, that's right. Really, I want to thank you, Sam, because you have given us this opportunity. Really, without you, we wouldn't have had this enlightened discussion. And I think we've touched on a range of issues. We end up being very worried. We end up with perhaps no solutions, but we also end up with hope. Hope because we believe that ultimately people who suffer in situations that are now actually spreading throughout the world, they will react. And I'm sure they will react because in the ultimate analysis, the people have to fight the system. And our lowing voices will add to their strength. So we must speak up. Each of us must speak up. Each of us must support what we believe is the value system that must be prevalent in institutions that run governments. And governments will be must accountable, capital must be made accountable, and we must stand up for the values for which we are here on this planet. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Kapil. I personally want to thank all of you for taking time from your busy schedule to be with us. I appreciate Kapil's leadership on this. Appreciate Radhika's support in organizing, and all my colleagues in the back, like Rakesh, Vishal, Shan, people from Penguin, Anuj and others. Without their support, something like this is very difficult to organize. I wish I had time to recognize some of my friends here. There are so many. I have a friend, Bhavesh Das. I saw him. He is 93 and still interested in all these things. And it's so good to see all of these friends. I hope we can meet without a book launch once in a while. And it's, in fact, a great privilege to see you all on this. And thank you for joining us. Radhika, to you.
On behalf of Penguin Random House India, I'd like to extend our gratitude to Mr. Pitroda, of course, to Mr. Sibbal, and to all of you here. This was such an enlightening, engaging conversation, and I encourage you all. I think Rakesh has shared the link to the book in the chat box. I encourage you all to read it, to engage with it, to share it with people, because honestly, I feel like that may be the only way forward and the only real hope for the world today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Remain in touch. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.